Well, this was a real pile of shit. Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
All right, the moment of truth. This is I don't know what to expect from you guys on this, but ratings. Vince, where does Prisoners of the Ghostland rate on your Cageometer?
All right, for the film, 10 out of 10. Nah, just joking. It's a fucking 2.
2.
2. Just like, talking through it, I feel like we fleshed out a lot of what he may have been trying to say with some of the symbolism and metaphors. But because it's not clear, I can't fucking give the film a good score. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. It's nowhere clear or close to the best film. I think it was shot very well. Yeah, so it's got to get 2. It's not a good movie. And I feel like giving it 1 would be too harsh because I feel like people genuinely tried to make something of this film.
Yeah.
And I don't want to shit on him too bad, even though it's a fucking awful film. As far as Cage, this one's tough because I don't know. This is one of those things I struggle with. Like, how much did he really have to work with?
Yeah.
Like, what was
the
he
question
really
is like, for what he was presented to deliver to us,
yes,
did he do a good job?
Exactly. And it's hard to tell because who fucking knows? I mean, this movie's so incoherent. So I gotta give him a 5, only because like I don't think I could. I mean, obviously I'm not an acting professional, but if I had his skill set, I don't think I could do what he did and make the character somewhat interesting with how fucking nonsensical this movie is. Yeah, and like I feel like he gave us the best version of that character he possibly could, given the source material he was given. And I bet there was like no direction or not good direction from because just knowing how some Japanese directors are, like they don't.
It's like
really
Lost in
give,
Translation, the movie when they're trying to get him.
Yes, I do flash back to that scene where he's like,
kato, kato, kato.
more. Yeah, he says more. Intense. Yeah, so I feel like shitting on him for the performance wouldn't be fair because the movie just was not very good. The script was a mess. So I'll give him a 5. I think he did the best he could with the source material, and definitely not his worst performance. I don't feel like he mailed it in. I definitely felt like he was trying to give it some authenticity and give it his best. But definitely not his best performance we've seen this season.
All right, Nigel, where do you rate Prisoners of the Ghostland 2021 on your Cageometer?
I guess I should preface this by saying I don't like anime. And this movie was like the most anime movie I've seen, live action wise.
Ditto on both.
But anime stylist choice aside, it's not a good movie. So I give it a 3 out of 10. Not going to be quite as harsh as Vince was, mainly because I liked that they had him on a bike. That seriously elevated the movie because it was so fucking funny to just throw that in there.
You're pulling at every straw you can pull at to find positive things.
It's obvious that whoever shot the movie is very competent. I think editing was okay, could have been better, but we don't know how bad the original cut looked like of it. But it's incoherent, but maybe that's on purpose, like it's supposed to be. But regardless, the fight choreography was pretty good. I guess I should say dancing choreography because there's a couple of dance numbers in there. The lighting's great. The colors are fantastic. It's really pretty. It's really fun to watch. If you just take it as an abstract, like just watching little vignettes and stuff, it's entertaining what's on screen. And again, I feel like I can't remember his name. Sono. What the hell is his name?
Cyan Sono.
Sorry. I feel like Cyan Sono is a good director in his own right. I mean, he had to have been popular for it. I just don't think. I think this is a misfire for whatever reason. Maybe it's a bunch of reasons. It's just the movie has so much going on in it that it just loses its own messaging, which is the main problem with it.
Would you say maybe it was lost in translation?
I don't know if it's lost in translation or if there's just so much that's been put into it. Serious though. Like, yeah, I'm sure some of it is that. But I don't know Sion Sono. He can speak fluent English. I have no idea.
And this could be par for the course of the type of films that he's done, and we just haven't seen them. You know?
Right. And if that's the case, then it's like, well, who are we to say that this was a shitty movie from him? Because if this is what he does and this is what studios wanted him to deliver, then whatever. I just felt like for watching this as its own standalone movie, it's very pretty and there's a lot of stuff going on, but it sort of steps all over its own messaging because of how incoherent it is and how confusing it is. Like we've hammered before throughout this, doesn't feel like a single through line that you can grab onto as like a starting point to try and piece together what it's trying to tell you. The things can be completely random or they can actually tie into some greater meaning, and you never know really which is which. So why bother trying to figure it out? Yeah. That's sort of how I felt through it. So I became exhausted while watching it, and I just decided to just let it happen, you know? Maybe that's
it's like, with Bandy, where it was like, sometimes you were confused and you weren't sure what was going on, but at least it felt like you were being pulled along through this phantasm.
Mandy has a through line of like, it's a revenge story. It's a really simple story. You can grasp onto that. This movie sort of has that. Go get his daughter, bring his daughter back. But then they throw in all kinds of stuff like, okay, now he's got to stop the ghosts, and now he has to kill the governor and free these prisoners who we never really understand who they are, what they're doing there, or what this entire universe actually is and stuff. Like, and so not to compare it one to the other, but if you want a movie that takes you on a journey like that, watch Mandy, because it's an experience that you won't get through most other movies, but it's telling a story that's a lot easier to comprehend, and there's underlying themes and stuff that are there, but they're, I think, easier to pluck out and examine than what this movie was trying to do.
Yeah.
So 3 out of 10. Not a good movie. The 3 is only there because of how competently it's composed in places and shot. The music was good. Speaking of composer, so there were little parts that was great. I just feel like this movie was a lot of style over substance.
It was like the biggest name in those credits was the guy who did the music.
Yeah,
the Tron Legacy guy.
I noticed that one of, like, I don't know, the editor or producer or somebody was some guy named George A. Lucas or something, but it was Lucas spelled differently. I just thought it was funny that it was like Loucas or something like that.
Maybe it's a pseudonym. It's a pseudonym for Sion Sono. Just going with the what was that? Thomas Jane or whatever the Coen brothers. Pseudonym that they got. Roderick Janes. That's
so. Yeah, as for Nick Cage himself, I'm a little harsher than Vince was. I give him a 4 out of 10 for it. I agree that it's hard to tell what he had to work with and what constraints he was under or what direction he was given. But I feel like what he did was over the top, even for Nick Cage in places, like the scene where he's supposed to be talking about how he sees all these dead children or dead victims, and he's all wide-eyed and weird. It's just that pulls me out of what's, I guess, supposed to be a character-driven moment of it, because it's just so goofy, and it's hard to say when everything in the movie is so fantastical that his over-the-top performance in a specific scene pulls you out of that. But that's how I felt like it was. And for the rest of the movie, I felt like he wasn't really bringing a lot to the character in his mannerisms. I never really felt like this guy was a badass guy that we should all be rallying behind, which maybe that was intentional. But given what we've seen he's able to do, especially with, I guess, more subdued roles or more muted characters, literally sometimes. I feel like we could have gotten more out of him from this one. So, yeah, put him kind of on the bad side with a 4 out of 10 for this one.
Yeah. Okay. On my Cageometer, generally when I do these movies, especially the bad movies, the movies that I watch the first time and I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. Usually I end up liking the movies better afterwards. But this time, no. Even going scene by scene, breaking it down, I still hated every moment of this experience. I hated every little character interaction. I hated every stupid line, every stupid look, every stupid moment where every stupid character did a stupid song and dance together. I hated everything about this movie. I can't stand this movie. I never want to watch it again. I never want to watch this movie again. I will never watch a Sion Sono movie for the rest of my life unless Nick Cage is in it and we have to do it for this fucking show. But it's absolute wall-to-wall garbage. Like we said, we've harped on it enough, but like there is no through line to this movie. It's just random shit, nonstop, from start to finish. It's just like there's nothing to grasp onto, like a Mandy, where it's like we can at least there is some ground in reality, even if this is supposed to be some sort of fantasy world of the director's imagining. We've seen this before. We've seen that kind of world built in a good way, and this is just nonsense. And I should also say I hate anime, and I hate anime storytelling, and I hate like those types of movies where it's like, oh, he's badass because he rode a kid's bicycle. I don't fucking know what the hell you're trying to tell me. And they do that a lot in these types of things where it's just like suddenly somebody says something that's like, no, that doesn't correlate with what just happened. It's just like random thoughts, like scribbled down in human shit and just put together in a script. And it's like, and then he rides a bike and everybody's like, he's badass, right? And then the guy runs up and he gives him a car and he drives off and he's like, he rings a bell and he's like, there's not much time, right? Because that has to do with my metaphor that I'm trying to tell about nuclear annihilation or whatever the fuck he was going for in this fucking piece of shit. I hate this movie. 2. I'm giving it a 2. Only because the music was good, the visuals were good. Everything else about it was absolute dog shit. From start to finish, I hated it. Fuck this movie forever. That's my review of Prisoners of the Ghostland. I still think people should go...
Please make sure to send us info and updates in your comments and opinions so we have to do it back in the cage.
Oh, God. No.
Please.
I feel like I'm not the target demographic for this film.
But we are not.
I wasn't the target demographic for Moonstruck, and I could definitely see that it was a good movie.
Yeah.
This movie I hated. And I'll jump over to Nick Cage. This was made obviously by somebody who loves Nick Cage. And I hated Nick Cage in this movie too, because he just did nothing that was like, it wasn't like he was acting or doing anything. It was just like, okay, make a funny face. Okay, say a line from Vampire's Kiss. Okay, do a deadfall thing. There wasn't like, I didn't feel that character at all. There was no substance to that character. There was no substance to any character in the whole film. I give Nick Cage a little bit of credit just because of what he probably had to work with. So I'm giving him a 3, which is better than a 2, which is the movie. The movie is a number 2 in more ways than one. Cage, I give him a 3. Just the benefit of the doubt. Like there were some fun moments, but it was just exactly like Nigel said. Like it just pulled me completely out of the movie. Like we're supposed to have this big cathartic moment where he's realized like, oh, everything I've done in my life that's bad has been leading up to this moment where I'm supposed to help these people, but he's just doing it through stupid face the whole time and like overly dramatic greed. And it's just like, oh, and then like fucking alas poor Yorick, I knew him well, to a football helmet and fucking everything was stupid. And like
also just, Shakespeare was in there in that schoolhouse, the bombed out schoolhouse. There was like,
that's what they were looking at.
There's a summer's day written on the blackboard and stuff.
Yeah, just like
it's like people like Shakespeare.
See, I'm deep. I put a Shakespeare quote in it. See, I have a line from Wuthering Heights. Read into it. Go
Animal
ahead.
Farm.
It's not my job to teach you what I'm trying to tell you. You have to go and find it yourself. You need to take this stupid mishmash of random bullshit that might as well be a crappy music video and turn it into this big, deep meaning because I'm trying to tell you something very important. Fuck you, like get out of your own ass and tell a fucking actual story and put symbolism on top of it, That's my review.
Didn't disappoint. That was more cathartic than the movie.